All right, welcome back. Now that we understand the difference between pessimistic and optimistic explanatory styles, let's take a look at how optimism can be learned and practiced. So first, it's important to understand self-regulation, and we've learned about this in the week previous. So before we can change the mind, which is how optimism is cultivated, we must first practice self-regulation, and this is the heart of resiliency. We must learn how to practice it in the moment whenever we find ourselves dysregulated. This is a tool that you can use when you find yourself activated or using pessimistic thinking. This tool asks us to stop, observe what is happening in your body, take a deep breath and focus on breathing to bring us to the present moment and expand our awareness to our surroundings and then respond effectively. This is when we can begin to cultivate optimism. You can use any of the self-regulation tools that you've learned, whatever works for you, but this is another one that you can add to your toolbox. The second most important aspect of learned optimism is to learn how to talk to yourself with encouragement when you suffer a personal defeat. So there are a few ways that you can practice this. And so let's take a look at the process of learning optimism a little bit more closely. So first, you want to practice self-regulation and mindfulness as we discussed. Second, you want to avoid using permanent and pervasive language like all, always, and never. Think back to some of the examples and pay attention to the language that you're using to describe your negative experiences or challenging experiences. If you're using permanent or pervasive language to describe bad events that take place in your life, think about ways that you can transform that by rewriting those statements so that they do not include words like all, always, never, every time. And you'll notice that you'll feel some hope seep into that when you change your language. Last, you want to dispute your beliefs by using evidence and other alternative explanations. So think about the evidence that supports the good and disputes the bad. Also, consider alternative explanations for negative events that improve your perception. The more that you begin to identify permanent language and beliefs that generate pessimism and transform them, the more optimism you will foster, the more mental flexibility you'll be practicing. So let's take a look at an example. Sam is a biology major in his second semester. He has been dealing with family issues that have distracted him from his studies. He fails the second test and get myself into these situations. I will never pass the biology class, and I should switch my major altogether. So think about this. How can you help Sam challenge his thinking? And you can write a statement or you can think of a statement, but what would you tell Sam as far as what would be a better way of saying this so that he can practice what we have been learning with regards to explanatory styles? So you might have said something like, sometimes I get myself into these situations. I'm going to work on passing this biology test by studying harder. If you thought of something like that, notice how the statements or the statement that I just shared, it instilled hope and opportunity for change. It also transformed the worst from happening, switching his major altogether, failing out, to I have an opportunity to still be successful, and it starts by changing thinking. So I'd like to share with you a quick video relating to our conversation. hope some of these quotes registered with you as you watch this video. The quote that always stands out to me when I watch this video is, "Optimism is not a destination, it's a journey." And this just really resonates and reinforces that we're always a work in progress and there's always opportunity. So this week, we've learned a lot about optimism and pessimism. We learned about the 3 dimensions that make up optimistic and pessimistic explanatory styles, which is how we explain the events that happen in our lives. We also learned how to transform permanent language and challenge our beliefs so that we can cultivate more optimistic thinking. I'd like to share a quote with you from Dr. Seligman that really helps us further understand the importance of cultivating optimism to increase resiliency. And it reads, "The defining characteristic of pessimists is that they tend to believe that bad events will last a long time, will undermine everything they do, and are their own fault. The optimists, who are confronted with the same hard knocks of this world, think about misfortune in the opposite way. They tend to believe that defeat is just a temporary setback or a challenge, that its causes are just confined to its one case." So this week's lecture video focused on how to build optimism by learning the way that we explain things. Next week, we are going to continue learning about mental flexibility, but specifically by exploring the root cause of stress. So until then, make it a great week.